Hey you guys, it's me, Ellie here, and welcome back to my channel. Obviously, by the title of this video, I'm going to be talking about the worst experience I've ever had working at McDonald's. And I've only worked there once. But anyway, if you are working there right now and you are having the experience that I had, I would suggest quit while you're ahead. Get out while you can. If you're not, if your store is being managed properly, run properly, then please stay there, by all means. Don't listen to this video. But also, for the respect of people that I'm going to be talking about, I'm not trying to just disrespect them at all, but I will be using anonymous names. But I want to let you guys know that these people, I don't think were trying to be disrespectful to me, but I do believe that they could have treated me better. So, anyway, let's get into the video. Alright, you guys, so I started working at McDonald's in 2018. I got hired in the month of April, I believe, and the hiring manager that hired me, her name was Miss Flowers, and she was a very nice lady. She was really good, and what the hiring manager, I can't say hiring for some reason, what they do is they interview potential new people to work at the store. A real good store, a well-managed store, has about 80 to 100 employees. Our store only had 50 to 60. And I know that seems like a lot, but it's McDonald's, and it's a 24-hour one that I worked at, so it's actually not a lot. So, anyway, moving on. And that number started to go down over the months that I was working there, which is red flag number 1. So, I got hired, how to do the onboard paperwork, and you fill out your bank information, etc. You know, same stuff when you get hired for any new place you work at. And you also have to give your pant size, shirt size, and shoe size for your uniform. Then you have to take an orientation class at like another local McDonald's, like a district one, I guess you could say. And this particular McDonald's for the area is like in charge of all the McDonald's in the district. And, or not the district, but like the main McDonald's. I don't know how else to describe it, but yeah. So here comes red flag number 2. I got to the McDonald's to take my class. Unfortunately, the classroom was built right behind the dumpster, and the parking lot was plenty big for them to build that classroom somewhere else. It smelled so bad, and it was so hot in there, and when you get to the class, you have to change into your uniform straight away. They make it seem like that you're clocking in for a shift at work. And they explain to you like the do's and don'ts while working at McDonald's, how it is to work there, etc. How to bag the food, how to cook, blah, 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 right? Okay? So then you fill out more paperwork while you're there in class. You put it in a big white envelope, and then you go back to the McDonald's that you're getting hired at, hand the envelope to the hiring manager. So that's exactly what I did. So now we're getting into the summer of 2018, and everything was going pretty well. And then about 3 to 4 months later, red flag number 3, which I completely ignored. Sorry, that was an email. That's why I looked over there. Completely ignored this red flag number 3. The general manager there at the time, at the store that I worked at, decided to leave. And the official word that was going around the store was that she was going to retire and she wanted to just take a break from working in general. However, her husband was the one of the maintenance men at my old apartment complex. So I knew who her husband was, and the answer I got from him was completely different from what I got at the store. He said that she didn't like the way that the store was being run by the district manager. She thought yeah, she just said she needed to leave, and then she actually ended up going to another McDonald's to work at. So she did take a break. That part was true. But then she got hired at another McDonald's as the manager. So, like I said, another red flag, which I completely ignored. So then the new general manager comes in. He's completely fine. We're going to call him Mr. Ped. And then the other general manager, we'll call her Miss Springs. So Miss Springs left. Mr. Ped comes in. And he's completely fine. Everything's going well. And by now it's like the holiday times. And I asked Miss Flowers if I could have 2.5 weeks off so I could go to Texas, visit my family. We went to Colorado for New Year's. I got to spend the rest of Christmas Day with them because I flew on Christmas Day. And we just had a really good time. And then when I came back, everything was still going pretty well. But then, red flag number 4. Miss Flowers got demoted. She no longer was the hiring manager. And then they brought in a new hiring manager and an assistant manager. And there's this quote or saying, too many chiefs and not enough Indians. And that's literally what was happening at this store. There was just so many managers, but unfortunately, since it's a 24-hour store, you have to have shift managers. And then you also, in case something happens and the shift manager needs help, then you have to have an assistant manager and a general manager. And it was just like, but you really don't need that many managers, to be honest. Excuse me. So, once the new hiring manager came in, we're going to call her Miss Elmer, I was having a really hard time getting on her good side, somehow. The amount of disrespect that I got from her is utterly ridiculous. Now that I'm thinking about everything that happened. So, like I said, Miss Flowers got demoted. Miss Elmer takes her place. She is now in charge of the hiring and, I don't know, firing. I really don't know. I think any manager could fire somebody. But anyway, she's in charge of the hiring process and the employee schedule. And the schedule is made every 2 weeks. So, but this time I'm out of school and it's the summertime. And Miss Elmer completely changed my schedule around so much. Before it was so consistent, always like 6 or 7 a.m. to 2 or 3 p.m. And I was getting very frustrated that Miss Elmer was constantly changing it and not really sticking to a consistent time period. Sometimes it'd be like 10:45 to 2 or 11 to 4, and I was just like, why? What are you doing? Like, can you just make it normal, you know? And I was kind of getting frustrated with that because it was kind of ruining my sleeping pattern, and I have very bad very bad insomnia, so I was getting really annoyed. So that was red flag number 5. I think we're on number 5. I don't really know. That was just another red flag, period. So yeah, so I just wasn't happy at this point anymore. And then another red flag, I started to get holes in my pants. I had them for about a year now, and I asked Miss Elmer for new pants over and over and over for about 2 months straight, and new shoes. I had holes in my left shoe and never got them. I even showed her like my skin, like where the heat rash was, because like walking back and forth so much, like your skin is rubbing together with like the friction, and it's getting hot, so it got really red and sore, like where my thighs were, on my inner thighs. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll get you some new shoes and new pants. She never got them for me. It's just like, when as I'm thinking about it, I'm just getting more angry. I know it's like not really something to get upset about, but honestly, just the disrespect to me is just, I've never experienced that at any other job I've worked at. And I've worked at a few other like food places too. So anyway, that's what happened. And also at this time, at the beginning of summer, Mr. Pad got into a really bad car accident, so he's now no longer there to really supervise anybody. It is now upon the assistant manager. And then there was this other little shift manager running around saying, oh yeah, he left me in charge. And I was like, no, you're not in charge. I don't know what you're talking about. And she was always late to work. She would show up whenever she wanted to. But if I didn't show up to work, I would get in trouble. Or if I was late, I would get in trouble. And I didn't quite understand that. I was like, why are you getting annoyed with me? And by in trouble, they would just be like, why are you late? You know, don't do that again. But and then they would just have an attitude with me for the rest of the day. And I was just like, she's late all the time and she's a manager. So what does it matter? You know? That was another red flag. Like, she should be the role model, the example for us not to be late. And sometimes she wouldn't even show up for her shifts. So it was just getting so annoying. Anyway, moving on from that. So it's kind of like in the middle of summer, and I'm starting to get canceled from shifts. And I'm thinking, this can't be good. But actually it was due to the fact because Miss Elmer hired too many people. So she wanted to give those other employees a chance to work so they could train and learn faster, because I already knew what to do. But at the same time, it's like, I need to work. I'm not in school right now. Well, I was actually, but I didn't have as many classes in the summer. So I needed to work, you know, on the days that I wasn't in school. And she didn't care. Not one bit. Still no new shoes, no new pants. At this point, it's really hot, and I had to wear like exercise bicycle shorts or something like that under my pants, and they were thick too. Don't know why I decided to use those particular shorts. I could have just used something different, but it was very, very hot. And I also wore an undershirt because I didn't like the polo shirt that they gave me, and I don't have that type. Well, I have that type of shirt for my job now, but it's not the same material, so I'm comfortable wearing it just by itself. Yeah, so it was just so uncomfortable. I was dying of heat, especially because it's a 24-hour McDonald's. All the grills and stuff are constantly on, and they're never turned off. So you literally walk by the grill and you could just feel the heat coming off it. So we're rolling into July now, and Miss Elmer asked all the people who were in school to give them their new updated schedule for the fall semester. And I did. I filled out the paper that she wanted me to fill out, and she lost it. Then about a week later, after that, I take that back. Not after a week later. She did lose it, but I'm gonna say like the beginning of August, she asked me again what the schedule was gonna be. So what the schedule was gonna be, and I told her. Again, she texted me on another employee's phone. That was another red flag right there. Like, you can't use your own phone. And at this point, I was just getting really irritated. I was already looking for another job, but I didn't want to quit until I actually had another job ready to go, lined up. And I was just going to find another way to pay the other half for my tuition, because the other half was coming from financial aid. The other half was coming from McDonald's, because they have a scholarship fund for all employees. So as long as you're working 15 hours and above per week. And I was. So I was just getting really, really frustrated and annoyed, and I was like, I'll find another way to pay for school, my mental health and my physical health, because I'm eating the food there nonstop while I'm on break, and I'm getting fat every single day, fatter I should say. It just wasn't worth it to work there anymore. And not only that, the food there is not cooked properly. Sometimes they don't cook the burgers all the way through to save time. So some of the burgers are pink in the middle, and the employees there, they don't always clean the grill, so you're cooking new meat on a nasty, dirty, greasy grill. There was only one employee who actually did her job right, cleaning the grill properly. And then the dishes, we actually had a dishwasher installed. It did nothing because it didn't fit any of the dishes that we use in there. And so we still had to wash them by hand. And there was only one employee that I know of who actually did it properly. And everybody else, like, you could see the nasty, like, they would just, like, you have wax paper on the bottom of some of these, like, oblong dishes, and you could just see old caked on food under the wax paper sometimes. And I was thinking, like, this is disgusting. People are eating this food. And it was just gross. The oil for the fries was never changed every single day like it's supposed to be. It was only changed once every 1 to 3 weeks, because one of the employees, the two like maintenance guys, were actually supposed to be doing that, but they both quit. So then we only had one other employee who knew how to do it, but he wasn't actually a maintenance guy, and but he still knew how to do it. But he didn't want to do it all the time because technically it wasn't his job. And yeah, so you have the most oldest oil in the world. I'm just kidding, not really, but nasty oil cooking these fries. And yeah, so you don't want to eat the food there. Just don't eat the food there. I mean, I still have nowadays, but I would go to like Dairy Queen or Burger King, honey. Those are probably way better than McDonald's. Anyway, at least the McDonald's that I worked at. So, moving on from that. Like I said, at this point, I'm getting canceled from shifts. Miss Elmer lost my schedule for the fall semester of 2019. And no new pants, no new shoes. It's hot as crap. And at this point, like I said, I was looking for another job. I would find another way to pay for school. So then, for the other half of my tuition. So then, rolling into August, my uncle and my aunt are in town. They got off a cruise that they took with my other aunt, my uncle's sister, and her brother-in-law. Guess he's my uncle too, but only by marriage. So then, they went on a cruise all together, and then they came and they stayed with us, me and my mom, and then we hung out together. And by this time also a hurricane was coming our way, so they were only planning to stay for like the weekend, and they were supposed to go back home. And I told them I still had to work, but I would hang out with you for the weekend, because then the week after that I had to start school. So this is like kind of like toward the end of August. My actual last day of working was August 20th, because when I got second to last week of August, my bad. Because, and I wasn't intending it for that to be my last day, but I saw the new schedule that day, and Miss Homer still didn't get my schedule right. She put one of my two or three of my clock out times for a time that was actually supposed to be in the middle of class. And I was just like, you're not getting my schedule right. I'm done. I never got new pants or new shoes. I'm being treated with so much disrespect. Please transfer me to another store now. And I told my mom, I was like, I'm not going back to that store to work there. And I'm done. I'm not going to work. And she's like, okay, I understand. And because I would come home and literally complain to her about it all the time. And she was getting so frustrated about it too. And she was getting annoyed at me complaining, number one. And number two, she was like, she actually said that saying to me, too many chiefs, not enough Indians. So then I didn't hear back from her for like days straight, and then the hurricane was coming, and then my uncle and my aunt's flight got canceled because of the weather. So we actually went away from the hurricane to going west in Florida, and because we live on the east side near Daytona, and then so we went to Sarasota, which is on the west side of Florida, west side of the state, and the hurricane wouldn't touch that part of the state, only where we were living, and obviously my uncle was staying with us. So after that, so like I said, I didn't go to work because of the hurricane, and I didn't want to work there because I was getting tired of the disrespect. And finally, like, I think I don't know if I was gone still in Sarasota, or like right when I got back, she finally texted me back and was just like, why didn't you show up for work and blah blah. I was like, I evacuated because a hurricane was coming, for my family's safety. I had people staying with us, but she already knew this, but of course she didn't care, or either she forgot about it or didn't listen to me when I said that my uncle was going to be staying with us. So then she was like, well, literally in her text message, she was like, well, other employees evacuated, but they still came to work. Nobody's going to evacuate the area and drive all the way back to go to work, and then drive all the way back to somewhere else where they evacuated again. That makes no sense. And I told her that in the text back, but I didn't say it like rudely, I was just like, no, that's not true, sorry. And I told her, I was like, you need to just transfer me ASAP. I'm done working at that store. She never responded back after that until like 3 or 4 days later. And then she was like, in order to be transferred, you have to ask Mr. Ped. And I was like, well, you're the hiring manager. Why can't you transfer me? She's like, well, because he has to approve it since he's the main general manager. I'm not the actual general manager of this store. And I was like, okay, fine, whatever. Give me his number. She never gave me his number. So I called the actual store itself several times, over and over. And either the employees, and only the managers can answer the phone. So they never relayed the information that I called him or wanted to speak to him, or he just didn't care enough to call me back. One or the other. I don't know. So they ended up just booting me out of the system, and they said that I quit. Then what happened was I still wanted to take advantage of using the McDonald's scholarships. I was like, let me just, apply to another McDonald's. But the other McDonald's that were closer to my new apartment, or any McDonald's within the same zip code as the one I worked at, I became ineligible for rehire at any of the other McDonald's. I had to wait for 6 months to reapply to them. She literally went, and how I found out that she did that is because I got a call back from another McDonald's that I applied to a month later. This is a little bit later in September. And she's like, oh, I spoke to Miss Elmer, and she was like, she had nothing but nice things to say about you, but I'm sorry, you're not eligible for rehire. And I was like, what? How? And she said, well, technically you're only eligible if you were still in the system. I was like, that doesn't matter if I'm still in the system. I don't care if I have to take the orientation class over again. She's like, yeah, I know, but those are just the rules. And I was like, okay, that's fine, whatever. But how I found out that it was actually her who made me ineligible for all the other ones is because there's no way I could be ineligible for all 3 or 4 of the other ones. And I was just one. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But all the other ones, it doesn't make any sense. So I figured out that she actually called the other stores. Because they all emailed me saying I was ineligible for rehire. And she basically not blackmailed me, but made sure I would never get hired at McDonald's again, basically. So yeah, Miss Elmer was not the greatest manager at all, whatsoever. Anyway, so now we're gonna fast forward to this year. And how it still didn't even end over a year ago. So I waited for my W-2 form, never got it this year from them. And I tried to go online and figure out how I could get it for 2 months straight. And there was this phone number that I could call, but it wasn't it was just an automatic telephone number, and like automatic voice. And there was this website they said I could go to, and I tried to go to the website, but I was like, it said for employees, and I was like, okay, but I'm not an employee there anymore. You know, this is over a year later, so I was getting frustrated, but I did not want to call the store because I didn't want to talk to any of those people. But I didn't have a choice anymore, so I finally called, and Miss Elmer answered the phone. So clearly she still works there. And I told her my name. By the tone of her voice, she knew who I was, but she didn't acknowledge it. She's like, okay, give me 1 second. She went to the back office, and I was at home for 2 minutes. And then she came back. She said, the W-2s were moved to a new location in the office. I don't know where my manager put them. So call me back in 30 minutes. Called her back in 32 minutes or something like that. And I was like, hi, you told me to call you back in 30 minutes. This is blah, blah, blah. She was like, oh, okay. So how can I help you? I was like, yeah, you told me to call you back in 30 minutes. I'm asking about my W-2. She was like, oh, okay, give me 1 second. She was like, yeah, I don't see your W-2 here anywhere. And then she gave me the same stupid phone number to call, and they told me to still go to that website. So I was like, you know what? It can't hurt to hunt down my old employee number, which is what they wanted. The website wanted that. And see if it worked. And it worked. And I was just like, how did nobody know this? All they had to tell me was, this website is for current and old employees. Oh, and I was like, you could have just told me that. It would have saved me so much effort, so much time for you guys, and if anything, that gave me an utmost new hate for them, which is what inspired me to make this video. So that is my experience, you guys, working for McDonald's and trying to get my W-2 from them. It was a painful process, mentally and physically. So yeah, anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story time. I'm sorry it is so long, but I really wanted to explain my experience. And like I said, if you're in this, if you're in the same boat that I was in, get out while you can, swim to the shore, whatever. If you're not, and your store is being run properly, great for you, stay there. The pay is pretty good, so if you know how to save money properly, you know, good, great, you know. But that was just my experience, and I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want more story times, I will try to make them shorter in the future, I promise. But don't forget to subscribe down below, hit the bell icon to be notified when I upload, and other than that, I love you to the moon and back. Bye, guys. Mwah.